So look at how beautiful our trouser came out. See the fitting on my customer's body. Alright guys, so as you can see the fitting on our trouser. So our model will turn around. So she will turn, you see the fitting it's giving us. Look at how fitted. No rumples or whatsoever. Look at the crotch area. No emoji smiley shape. So turn around for the camera. So see the fitting. You see how fitted it is on the body, right? It's very fine. So if you want to learn how to make this, kindly watch the videos I posted on my channel and you will learn this. Thanks guys for watching. See you on the next one. Okay, bye-bye. So now we want to start our joining processes. Now bear in mind, I told us that this two-piece is very simple. Straight to the point, easy to sew, and a one-hand something, right? Once you have followed my process of joining my cutting right, you can join. So at this point you can decide to weave first. If you have an overlock machine, a 4-thread overlock machine, you can weave and sew at once. But here I am using a direct drive stress sewing machine. I will first of all join, and later on I will go and weave. The weaving could be single weaving or together weaving, whichever one you want to do, there's still no problem. But it's better off on single weaving so that you can open press. So here I am joining the crotch area first, the front crotch point. So join the front crotch point first. Join all right round with 0.5, that's half an inch. Join all through this way. Make sure you maintain the same curvy nature that you had when you drafted or when you cut the outfit, right? Don't change the shape there. Join all through that way. And then at this point, before you start joining the sides or the back of the trouser, you have to know where your customer will prefer her zip on. Is it on the right or on the left? So whichever one. So most people prefer to be on the right, and the right area is this particular point. So before you put the back panel, you will have to first of all put your back dart. You know, the back must have a dart at the back center panel. So how do you do the back dart? By simply folding the both panels to come equally this way, or optionally, preferably, you can still measure 5 inches from here in, and then 3.5 inch down, then half inch dart width, and then you run it. But since we are making a high waist, the dart depth will be 5 inches or 6 to give you that perfect result. So however you want to do it, you now fix your dart. So I prefer to do mine by folding it equally this way, and then give me chalk, and then mark 5 or 6 inches down. So now this dart point, sorry, I've seen, don't worry. So I've seen. So this dart point we are marking here is very optional, right? So you can decide to increase yours or reduce yours if as the case may be. Then you stitch all along that way. Make sure that your dart is sleeping perfectly. It should not be curvy or protruding. So you make the same dart on the second leg as well by simply folding it equally in this form, and then you run it all across this way. So like I said, that length could be 6 inches or could be 5, depends on your choice. So I'm using 6 inches for my customer's dart measurements. So once the dart is done, now the next thing you will do now will be to start joining the side panels with the front panel. So how do you join it? You have to know the one that corresponds with the left or right. So since we want to put our zip on the right panel, we are going to take the left panel and then join it from here. So this is the one that corresponds with this. So from here, we hold it equally this way and then start from the left panel to start joining our side of the trouser. So when you are joining, remember that the cutting pattern is not the same. So here you join perfectly. So make sure you are joining 0.5, half an inch. So once, remember that the side panels are not really the same curve, so you have to still match it in. So you carefully match it in and join nicely. You go step by step all through this way and hold the leg. Make sure that the leg is being held perfectly in a way that you will drag it and hold intermediately on this half of the length. So once you get to this point, try to follow the curvature of the front panel. The curvature of the front panel is what you are after. So you carefully stitch it all down. So hold it all through this way. And bear in mind that this two-piece palazzo trouser does not need lining. Please note, don't put lining. But if you are making it on Ankara, you might decide to put lining. Optional though. Though female trousers does not really need lining, except if you're making it on a transparent or a see-through fabric, you can now put lining. So here you join to the ankle side, and this is what you have. So the next you will do as well will be to join the other one, the other side panel as well. And while joining that, you make sure you give room for the zip to come in. So the measurement of the zip might be from the waistline 10 inches or 11 inches down, depending on the customer's height and size. So here, I will first of all stitch also a loose stitch here. So you loosen your machine tension here, give it a loose stitch, and then you're going to stitch or give gap for zip to come in. Remember, we are using the invisible zipper at the side. You can decide to use the regular zip, but then make sure whichever one you're using must be strong enough and but will not spoil easily. So here you stitch half an inch and then measure 11 inches. Remember, it's a high waist, right? So you still need to push out 2 inches for your band. The 2 inches for your band must be considered. So push it out and you mark at 11. So invariably, you're marking at 9 so that the zip will cross her hip point. So here you make sure you carefully arrange the panels all through this way and then stitch. Once you get to that 11, you now tighten your stitch to normal 3 or whatever measure stitch width you are using, or stitch length rather you are using. And then you get to that point and you double stitch that point in order to tighten there. And then you hold the legs of the trouser as well. Hold the legs as well and balance it properly. Make sure, like I said, you are following the curvature of the front panel. Don't change the curvature because of the back. Use the front panel as your guide in joining, right? So once you have gotten to this stage, now hold it all through this way, and then you make sure, you make sure it's properly held. So hold it all through this way. So once it comes all through to these points, you stitch all along. So make sure that the both lengths must correspond. Please don't allow anyone to be longer. And if it happens to be longer, lose it and start afresh. Don't cut it out. If you cut it out, you have made one of the panels to be elastic and it will give you issues when you are sewing. So here now, you have joined. To continue, you have to lock the waistline. Now the waistline measurement we are locking will be the waistline you took on your measurement. Now, in some cases, if you notice that your client's waist, that's navel or shape, right, is small, you maintain the same measurement. But if you notice that the waist is a bit big, you reduce so that the waistline of this trouser will serve as a waist trainer or something that can help hold or grab her tummy. So the waistline of my client is 33. So here you may divide by 2, you have it to be 16.5. So you mark 16.5 from here, 33, and then you start from there to join. You join all through to the crotch region. Now in the joining of the waistline, you make sure you don't use more than 1 inch on the hip region, because the hip is where that needs the much allowance, right? So you join all through to this point, and after which the next thing you will do will be to open up the sidelines where you had the loose stitch. But before we lose that, we can still lock our trouser. So just hold the crotch area in this form. Remember that this is for illustration, right? On your own time, please make sure you weave before you lock all of these things. I'm only trying to show you guys how you can do this with ease without much problem. Give me pin. So here, you make sure that you pin the 2 crotch points. Very important. You pin the 2 crotch points all through this way, and then you hold the inner leg from one end to the other end. So you must make sure that both of them must tally. If you notice one is slacking, right? So you have to drag it to make sure that it falls in. Don't allow one to be longer. If you make it to be longer, the base will not become elastic. It will make the sides be coming in front. That is one of the tricks you must understand in this 2-piece trouser making. So here, you don't need to mark measurements anymore. So use half an inch to lock it, because it's a free wear, right? So you start from there. So when you sew to an extent, you drag the crotch point to make sure that it's lapping, just the way you did at the sides when you were joining the sides initially. So here you join all through from here. So making sure that the crotch area is also corresponding as well. So you go all through this way. You go all through this way. And then this is how it goes, right? You can see now it has lapped properly. So the essence of pinning the crotch point is to make sure that the 2 crotch lines are corresponding. Then once you get close, you remove the pin and then you stitch. So once you stitch, you also make sure you drag the end of the other leg of the trouser to come and meet each other this way, and then you drag it up and then balance it at the midpoint. Do it intermediately so that it corresponds. If you're so small, you hold it a little while and then hold it again and you stitch. So this is how you can join the 2-piece trouser with less stress. So you go all through the whole processes just like this, and you are done with the joining. So the next we're going to do here will be to join the band and also fix the zip. So there you had your loose stitch, the right panel or the left, whichever one you chose. You open it up all through this way, and then you bring your band. And then you start joining the band with half an inch, right? With half an inch. So you bring your band all through this way and join it with half an inch. Make sure you must have weaved so that the weaving can enter the whole area. So join all through this way. So join all through this way. Join all through this way. You see that the sewing is not hard. Once you have understood the concepts, you can make these 3 or 4 a day. So here we have joined the band. Look at how it came out. So I will cut the excess band now because I made my band to be longer so that I will have enough. So here I can cut it straight, and then I will go and weave. I will weave all through. Look at what we have sewn so far. Don't worry, I will show you the fitting on my client. Then I will weave all through, and then I will now fix my zip at this side opening, right? And then I will continue with the video. Okay, so now I have finished weaving everything. So the weaving has been done, and I will fix the zip here first. Then later on I will weave here. Can still weave it as well. Then the invisible zip we've placed down facing the jointed line. Bear in mind that I have locked back the band with a loose stitch as well. And the natural thing you need to do here is to first of all hold this down with a normal stitch. Hold it down this way with a normal stitch, something of this nature. Just sew it down. This is a temporary stitch to help you hold the zip firmly, right? It will help you to hold the zip firmly. So just hold it down all through this way. Hold it down all through that way. And then once you have held it down to that very point, now the next you will do now, you also hold the other side as well, but making sure that both of them are corresponding at the band height, just like this. So you arrange it properly, making sure that they are corresponding at the band height, just like this, just like this, just like this. Make sure they are corresponding, right? So that one will not be longer than any one. And then you hold it firmly and you stitch it down from there. Stitch it down from there. Hold it firmly and then stitch it down from there. Sew it down all through that way, making sure that it laps properly as seen. Then after this, you now have to lose the first stitch used in holding the both panels together. Then you fix your you have to lose it. Give me some ripper. So you lose out all of this. It's advisable that you have seam ripper. The seam ripper use is very essential. So all you need to do here is just to place the red part at the inside, and then you run it across. You push it across just like this. It goes, once the first stitch is being ripped, then put it the red part, and then you gently press it. Let me lose this area. Here seems to be tight. So now you put your seam ripper inwards, the red parts inwards, and then you rip it off, right? So this is how you use your seam ripper. This fabric is stretchy, that's why it's not moving smoothly. So you gently rip off this area. You rip it off all through this way. And make sure you don't exceed that 11 inches you marked. Anyway, once you have gotten there, it becomes tight or strong. You cannot lose it further than that. So here is the point I marked. So I have loosed all through to that very end. Then I will cut my threads, and this is what I have. And then you will change your machine footer to the invisible foot. This is the invisible foot. It has right and left. So you change the machine footer to that foot. Now, this foot you are changing it to is very important because it will help you to make the zip fixing a whole lot easier. So you change the footer to this. That's the reason, that's the essence you must have all of these things. It makes the work a whole lot easier. And once you have changed the footer there, now the next thing you will do now will be to unzip the zip just like this, and then you place it towards the folded parts of the zip. Make it to be close to the folded part, and then tighten your stitch to normal stitch, and then you start sewing. So fixing the invisible zip is a whole lot easy if you have the equipment and know how to use it. It's not a hard job, unlike some people that sees it as a difficult task. So this is the essence of having these tools and more. So you tend to, unlock the zip to go lower than that mark you placed, so you'll be able to finish it out properly. So you unlock the zip, to go further than that mark. Like 1 inch in is enough. So do the same sewing on the other side as well. So here you can start from the down. The reason for this is because if you don't have the left and right invisible footer, you will need to start from the down. So you clip it all through here, and then you start from here and go all through this way. You see how simple it is. In 2 minutes, you can fix your invisible zip. Then once you have passed that stage, then you gently make sure it's properly locked. Let me extend it more. So you gently make sure it's properly locked. So here you go a bit closer. And then you unlock you lock it back. So you lock it all through. Look at how it's corresponding, right? Look at the finishing, the end here. It's also perfect. Look at it. I'll iron it now, it will relax. So once you're done with this now, you can now change back your footer to your normal English footer and continue with the sewing process. So here you finish your zip properly by folding the edge to go backwards, and then sew it down. After you sew it down, you cut your threads, and then you can now lock it this way. So do the same thing you're doing here on the other edge as well. So here you stitch it down just to finish it properly. So once you're done with this, the last thing you will do now is to hem or to fold the leg. So do the same thing here as well to have a nice finishing of your zip. So gently fold here and then sew it down. After you sew it down, cut your threads and then fold it backwards. Fold it backwards this way. and then you lock it properly. So the last you do now will be to fold the leg. So because we have a full length, we are not going to measure anymore. So you just fold it half an inch at the base. You can stitch it, don't hem. So you can stitch it down by half an inch. You can now cut the excess zip here, right? Cut the excess zip here so that it doesn't bulge on your customer's body. Then here, you lock your zip finally. You see how it's relaxing. Then let us now fold the hem. So you're folding the hem. You can decide to weave and fold once, or you can decide to fold twice. Whichever one you want to do is solely your choice. So I'm folding twice, just half an inch. So fold the hem in this form. And then run it all along this way. Make sure that the folding must be equal, right? So gently do all of this. The hemming must be equal. So gently run this all through this way. So once the hem has folded, then do the same thing on the other leg as well. You also fold the second leg. Remember, you also fold the second leg. So second leg, the same thing as well. You fold just the 0.5 or less than that all through this way. 0.5, 0.5, and then you fold. So once you get to this point, you arrange it properly and then fold uniquely. So thanks guys for watching. The next video you will see will be on the top sewing and of course the fitting on my client. See you guys on the next one. Bye bye for now.